Reason number 46 to get a Nissan. Features, especially the ones you get with the 2025 Nissan Kicks Play. Integrated Apple CarPlay, a spacious interior, advanced safety features, and more room in your budget. Because it's the most affordable new vehicle in Quebec. Get the 2025 Nissan Kicks Play S from only $22,774, including a $2,600 cash purchase bonus. Visit your Nissan dealer today. Until March 2nd, conditions apply. Details at Nissan.
As the more votes are coming in, the results for popular vote look pretty much exactly like we expected they would look like. Liberals maybe a little bit weaker so far, but that could shift. But generally speaking, that's what we expected. And unfortunately, the results are also, in terms of seats, what we feared would happen.
All right, everybody. That's a little analysis from CTV Montreal's coverage last night. A lot of people are talking about the difference in popular vote and then the number of seats won. And I guess if you're going to make a case that the system's got to change, perhaps the person with the strongest case this morning is our next guest. Eric Duhaime is leader of the Conservative Party of Quebec. And last night, taking a look at how Quebecers voted, 12.92% of Quebecers voted for Eric Duhaime's Conservative Party. So just about 13% of people voted for Eric Duhaime's Conservative Party. Just over 14% of Quebecers voted for the Liberal Party of Quebec. And you see a Liberal Party with 21 seats, and you see a Conservative Party with, as I put it before, a big old fat 0. No seats. Must be discouraging, I would imagine. Eric Duhaime is on the line. Mr. Duhaime, welcome back to the show.
Always a pleasure, Elias.
How does the big fat 0 feel?
Well, the fat 0 doesn't feel very good. The 13% feels much better because there's over 500,000 Quebecers who voted Conservative yesterday. Were by far the party that had the biggest increase. Of all the opposition parties, we're the only party that went up. We have 12% more than the last election. So there's, that's a good sign. But the problem is that, as you just underlined, we're not represented at the National Assembly. So it's a huge problem. It's the biggest democratic distortion in Quebec's history. We've never seen a party with as many votes as we have without any seats in the National Assembly. And it's kind of discouraging because I went in politics and many of us went there because we want to make sure that, the National Assembly is more representative of what's going on in Quebec. And unfortunately, the voice of one Quebecer out of 7 is going to stay out of the National Assembly, which is nothing good to give more faith in our institutions. And that's why I'm asking all the other parties today, as I did with Mr. Legault over the phone last night, that we could have something arranged for the Conservatives. So, like, I could have my press conferences at the National Assembly. We can have a budget. We can have room to work, or just to make sure that at least we're inside the walls of the National Assembly, not outside the walls.
Let me ask you on that note, right, on getting your presence in the National Assembly a little more official. Is it the CAQ or is it the Liberal Party of Quebec that needs to dance the most with you to get that done?
Well, I think both parties don't have an interest personally in doing any kind of reform right now because they're both benefiting from it. So from that distortion. But I mean, they're Democrats first and foremost. And I think that everybody needs to understand that, there's something that is completely unfair right now that's going on. And we need to correct that because it's,
So Eric, listen, we have a strong difference of opinion. So many things that I think we can have a connection on. This strong difference of opinion, because I love it. Let me tell you something, Eric. I love that Quebec Solidaire, with their let's increase taxes on the most taxed people in North America. Oh, and we're going to lose our minds over the environment. And by the way, I believe in climate change and it's man-made, but they've lost their minds on the environment. I love that when you have out there left opinions, it doesn't pay off electorally. I love that Paul St. Pierre Plamondon, and look at his party, and you know what? Everything, sovereignty, separation, over and over and over to a population that doesn't want it, turns out to be 3 seats. And for you, Eric, I'll be very honest. Last night wasn't one election. It was 125 mini elections. You didn't win your riding, right? And I think that says something to the message that I take from that to all the parties is head towards the meaty center where people are. Become more moderate and less extreme, And then you get from 13% for you to 18 or 23 or 26%, and then it's like going to the casino, pulling on the slot machine, and the votes and the seats come in. You just have to head a little bit more to the center. Isn't that a good message for you, to head more to the center where voters really are?
Well, when you're talking about the representation at the National Assembly, it doesn't even have to do with the ideas, because the Liberals, I don't think you can say the Liberals are extreme, but they had the same amount of votes as we did last night. And it's just the distortion of the electoral system that gives them 21 seats now.
But their message resonates enough in 21 separate ridings. Those, I said, it's 125 elections last night, and they in 21 ridings, their message resonates enough to win the top spot.
Yeah,
that's what you needed to do last night.
We lost seats with 200 and 300 votes out of 40,000 votes last night. So it's not like we were completely discounted everywhere. There was very tight races. It just ended up that we were not lucky and we lost them all. I mean, it's not. There's a problem there. If you recall, when Quebec Solidaire started, they elected their first member, Amir Kadir, and nationally at that time they got less than 4% of the votes. When Mario Dumont got elected as the single member of the Action démocratique du Québec in the old days, he got 6.5% of the votes. We had 13% last night without a seat. So, I mean, that's the problem of what happened last night.
But so do you feel like you're so close? Because based on your numbers last night, if you can go from 13 and then head towards the center to add to 17, 18, 20, 30, whatever it is, don't you feel you're like in 4 years from now, you're so close to a wave type night?
Of course, we're not. We're very close. I mean, we saw it last night. We were leading in certain constituencies for a little while. It doesn't take much. Like, we'll need to work a little bit more. We'll need to present other ideas and make sure we polish them. We had very little time also, Elias. You have to understand that I became leader a year and a half ago. Within a year and a half, we went from 1% to 13%. I mean, we've never ever seen that in our lifetime in Quebec politics, by the way.
Yeah.
So we've done something in a year and a half, and now we need to do much better in the next 4 years. That's how I see it. I see it as a challenge. But in the meantime, what do? Do we muzzle me, or do we give me at least some exposure so I could express the message, the conservative message, to all Quebecers?
So, Eric, over the next 4 years, where are you going to take the Conservative Party? I mean, I guess off the top, let's talk about Anglo specifically. You really did court the Anglophone vote in this election. I don't know if you can characterize how well that did last night. But do you double down on Anglophones for the next 4 years?
Yeah, we're still going to court the non-francophone vote. Obviously, it didn't go as well as we expected, honestly, yesterday. And the reason is because at the end there was a huge polarization and the PQ was going up. I think we went back to the old debate also on immigration. It was not a good issue for wedging. I think it was terrible politics, and Mr. Legault's comments and the Minister of Immigration's comments scared off a lot of people, and we lost a little bit of momentum among non-francophones at the end of the campaign. But, I'm still going to, have my message that it's time to move on from the old debate and bring the new debate, the new paradigm in Quebec politics. And I'm still going to be there. I'm going to talk to all of our candidates, because many of them even finished second in the west end of Montreal. I think there's 3 or 4 constituencies where the Conservatives finished behind the Liberals in second position, which is a good sign. I mean, that's a huge improvement compared to last time. Yeah,
you did have some good results in various parts of the island of Montreal. So Eric, let me ask you this. Pandemic's over, right? Pandemic's done. Yeah. It's done.
Hopefully.
It's over. So now that it's over, do you leave that kind of stuff behind? Or do you keep that kind of like rhetoric about, how the government handled the pandemic? Does that keep going forward? Or do you leave that behind in an attempt to gain more voters?
Well, we're going to leave it behind if it doesn't come back and if there's no new measures. But if it comes back, obviously we're going to fight. But if it doesn't, hopefully we can talk about our platform, which was like, adding the contribution of the private sector in healthcare, exploiting our natural resources better, give more freedom of choice to parents for the education of their kids, and and lowering taxes in Quebec and the size of the state. That's the kind of message that Conservatives will bring, and it's because of us that those issues were brought during the campaign. And I think on that ground we won a lot, because we did move the Overton window, kind of. We saw many debates that were not normally part of an election in Quebec that are now part of it. And I think that's same for democracy to have a center-right alternative.
Mr. Duhaime, Eric, thank you for coming on the program. Don't be a stranger. And, I say this to everyone. I said this to Dominique Anglade once. I critique because I love, and I want you to do well. And this is why I've got the critiques this morning at times. I appreciate you coming on.
I understand. Thank you so much, Elias. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Eric Duhaime is leader of the Conservative Party of Quebec.